Okay, I
That's
have
25.
7 o'clock, so we're gonna go ahead and get started, call the meeting to order. We have a quorum of the board members. And the meeting was noticed in accordance with Florida statutes, 48 hours, more than 48 hours in advance. So next on the list, we'll go ahead and do the pledge of allegiance. They gave us a flag. They did. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming out tonight and battling with the lack of parking spots.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I had to walk on the other side. Is that a prom or something? Or what's going on?
No, it's Lake County Business Awards, or South Lake County Business Awards.
It's the
Okay.
commerce.
So, next up is the approval of the previous meeting minutes. I provided some comments back to Katie. Did anybody have anything else on previous minutes? Hearing nothing, I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Could you tell us what you told us, so this way we know what was changed?
Oh, okay. It was really more typos than anything.
Okay, no
Let
problem.
me see if I can find them. Oh, you got it? Okay, under director report, the first bullet replaced hack with outage because Avera never officially said that they were hacked. And then, under the president's report, second bullet, the word was spelled toy and it was actually toe. And the fifth bullet,
Tony, your email's opening.
front, oh, no, that's mine, sorry. Thank you. Under, the fifth bullet, add front after east. So that was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, turn the back gate barrier arm is down, and the east front gate entrance pedestrian gate needs repair. So I was just clarifying, because that's the gate video, remember that it doesn't line up properly and.
The front gate.
The pedestrian gate,
Yeah, in the front.
yep, but it's on the east side,
Right, that's the one that you had to put the hole in it.
yep. And something's sinking and it's now even more out of alignment, so.
Well, you know how you get around that, if I may speak, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman. That's why I was trying to go with a fob system, because it's like to pull the magnetic system.
Yep.
And an automatic lock, so even if it's off by an inch, they'll still let you know. And the good plus about that too, if the gate is open, they'll also send you a report that the gate is open.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to the back.
I agree. We actually, at not the last meeting, the meeting before, we discussed that because with the back gate, new pedestrian gates, we were gonna put fobs there also, and the front, but Avera was gonna charge us like $14,000, almost $15,000.
Well, we can look at other companies when we get rid of the contract.
That's exactly what we decided to do.
Okay.
It's just, there's gotta be better opportunities out there for us, so.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes from February 27th.
I'll second.
Elliot, second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, management report.
All right, so if you guys don't know me, my name is Michelle Arditi. I do work for Access Management. Katie had a family emergency, so she's on a bit able to make it, so I'm just gonna read off her manager's report. She completed a landscape comparison sheet from the RFP for 4 companies, including the current landscaper. Moving forward with any of these 3 alternative companies would result in an average budget difference of $32,000. However, with the $426,000 surplus in operating accounts as we enter 2025, their overall year-to-date budget will remain under budget. The Regency can accommodate the additional costs of the landscaping contract. Raccoons were never captured, but there have been no sightings or reported. Diamond Solution will show paid in full in the March financials. She will begin the RFP process for all the painting projects and holiday lighting contract. Need to create a finding committee meeting dates to have for violation process. Access is to be getting access to ARC tracker. Need to provide to us once letters are approved and or denied to place inside owner's account on Vantica. So some previous maintenance, all cracks and lifted sidewalks were painted orange, main swing gate bar replaced, pending repairs and maintenance, locks installed, excuse me, at the back pedestrian gate, RFP painting all gates at pool and entrances, and then there RFP for sidewalk repairs and landscape enhancements. The upcoming contract renewals is Florida Landscape, which expires on April 31st, and I believe the board's gonna discuss that tonight. And then your insurance was just renewed in February.
Great, okay.
Yeah, can I have some comments in the manager's report?
Yes.
So, in their references, that it would be, over budget, but we have a surplus, so it would be fine. That's not really the case. Yeah, we do have a operating fund, but when we do a budget, it needs to be a balanced budget. We can't budget expenses more than our revenues. If we're gonna have ongoing increase in expense, we have to have an ongoing increase in revenues to pay for it. The funds that are in there will handle projects that come up or unforeseen situations, kind of economic downturn, and aren't able to collect everything. But whatever is in there is not to fund ongoing operating expenses that are in excess of budget.
Okay, I agree with that.
So true.
I have another comment. You said down here, access is to be getting access to ARC tracker, need to be provided to us once letters are approved. You mean requests, applications to do work, ARC requests? Because we don't do letters, right, Joe?
We don't do letters, no.
No, the owners make requests, and the ARC reviews them and approves them, or denies them, and if necessary, when necessary, asks for additional information. But it's a request, it's not a letter. There's a format on ARC tracker that the owners can get into, and it's all there.
Is the process changing? Is it-
Not that
I
I'm
thought
aware of.
contractor was the record of approvals and
Yes.
denials, so what are we doing?
All they're trying to do is put copies of that inside the owner's account on Vantica, but our tracker is the official, and that's where everything's gonna be
You wanna
maintained,
tell 'em?
and if any issues come up, it'll always be our tracker
So,
that's.
so I'm not sure that I understand the purpose of putting it in Vantica, cause
Okay.
the reason I bring that up is when we get ready to change management companies again at some point in the future, could be a year, could be 10 years, but at some point in time, there will probably be a change. And when that happens, then all those records get lost to you, and we have them in our tracker, so I don't know, it seems like duplicative work.
Yeah, our tracker is a repository for all historical transactions.
Right.
If I may, it's very simple, just give her a password. She could print out a report and they could do whatever they want with us with no charge to us.
Yeah, I think
That's
we need
all
to
it is.
identify the purpose of what she's trying to accomplish.
We've done that with Century and Leland.
Yeah, but if they get a password, we gotta make sure it's read-only.
Sure.
It's,
Yeah,
what do you say?
read only.
Oh, read only, yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
sir.
I thought it was your eyes, now it's your ears too.
It's the ears too, kids, it's a long day.
So when they.
Had to go to Tallahassee today.
So, I know there's different levels of access for like committee members and residents. Is there like a report only access?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like an audit
Yeah.
where they
And
can
I
run
think that would be the
reports,
only
they
access
can,
they would need.
yeah, they can just run
Yeah,
reports.
so I think, I mean, my opinion is that we look into that.
Yeah. And I can,
Agree.
I've got a contact at Arc Tracker, so I can reach out.
Yeah. Only the committee should be making transactions, and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be anybody else.
Yes. And just to clarify, it said pending repairs and maintenance. The locks haven't been installed at the back pedestrian gate yet. And I'll cover that as part of my president's report. Okay, anything else?
I have another question on Diamond Solutions, that's the resurfacing or whatever
Right.
of the roads.
Yep.
So I know there was some outstanding questions about some residents or tenants or visitors, whoever drove on some aspects of it. We had an issue with the fire engine. What was the, where did all that fall out at?
So I talked to the contractor that came out and did the work for the seal coating, and he said, if we come back and re-seal coat those areas, it's not gonna make any difference. It's there, it's in the existing coat. He said over time, it'll wear down a little bit, so it won't be as obvious, but it won't do us any good to have them come out. I did get a message back from Chief Azell at the fire department and his lieutenant, and they said that there was an emergency call that night, and they shouldn't have driven on Kingston Ridge when it was closed after the emergency was over. Once the emergency's over and they terminate at that residence, then they should have abided by everything else. But there was nothing on the truck that malfunctioned that would have caused that situation. He said it's just that those trucks are extremely heavy, and that's what caused that track on the road. So,
Did they overdo anything to fix what they created when they shouldn't have been there?
well, I think one of the things that we can do as part of our lessons learned is to make sure that whatever company we get to do this in, whoever does it in the future, that they have good street signage that says road closed, and it's marked off better.
I think it was fairly obvious it was closed.
Yeah,
And they admitted they shouldn't have done that.
Yep.
And that's why I'm asking, as long as they're acknowledging fault, they won't do anything to remedy it?
well, I
We
think,
talked about potentially filing a claim with the city. Is there any merit to that?
the problem is, even if we do, if we have the company come out and re-seal coat, it's not gonna make any difference. It's still gonna show. So we're not gonna gain anything from having it done.
My only concern is,
Sure.
is not necessarily that it's showing, is how long is it gonna last? Right? If we have a life expectancy of that seal coat of, what, is it 5 years?
5 years.
And now we have these sections in the community that people drove on it before they were supposed to, or the fire truck, and that's gonna have a life expectancy of 2 years. Well, let's make, that's a problem.
So for both of those situations, the fire truck was well into the evening, so while it made a slight indentation in what was there, I'll have to double check with them, but my understanding was it doesn't affect the integrity of it. And then the same situation, what happened on Majestic Isle is the person drove on it after the first coat. They came back and they did the second coat, and that's the proofs in the pudding where exactly what he said. We can recoat it, but you're still gonna see it. So hopefully, as a couple of years go by, the normal wear and tear on the road helps to alleviate those track marks from being there. So fingers crossed with that. Okay, anybody else? Okay, financial arrears report.
Joe, I don't do the arrears, it's you, but I do the
You
financial.
do the financial.
Okay, and so I have the financials, which I'm gonna pass out. So I'm gonna read through some of my notes too, just for the record. So I went through this and I wrote notes to them on what the issues were. And I just wanna make sure we're aware of what the issues were, and we'll point them out when we get into the financials. So last month, we talked about a CD that had matured, it was supposed to be renewed. The
Yep.
CD wasn't renewed, we had like no interest on it, rather than 5% we were averaging. So we asked about it, they sent us options, we agreed on one, and it was supposed to be converted into a new CD. And when we got the financial report, that had not happened yet. Now, I guess the controller that's responsible for us changed, but that doesn't change the responsibility for the management company as a whole. Whatever is being done, there should be documented, and wherever one leaves off, the next one picks up. But in any event, we're losing out on interest. I mean, it's a significant amount of interest. Each of those accounts have about $150,000 in it. So that's, about $7,500 worth of interest per year. Alright, so it's like $500-600 a month, it's significant. And so we're losing out on that interest because it wasn't done properly the first time, and then it was discussed, and it was supposed to be taken care of last month, and it still hasn't been taken care of, and that's an issue. And so if we can make sure that that happens, that is of particular importance to us, because that's lost money out of our pockets for no reason. Last month, they started, as they promised, to sending me a file with invoices. This month, I did not get that file. So again, if I understand they might have changed controllers, but there should be notes and, you know, how they deal with each customer, I'm sure. I would like to get those, because as I go through it, you know, sometimes they sent me, well, it's the General Ledger. The General Ledger will tell me who we paid and what, but it doesn't tell me why. So I've got a bill for, say, an electrician, but it doesn't tell me what they did. So I like to get the invoices so I can understand exactly what it is we're paying for. So if we can make sure that it's on their notes that every month we get those invoices. And those shouldn't just go to me, they should go to the whole board. The next thing we noticed is that they reconciled the bank accounts every month. The reconciled balance for one of our operating accounts did not agree with the financials, and so somewhere along the line, they missed an entry. And then when they said, oh, it was, whatever it was, blah, we'll make an adjustment. Well, I already have the financials. And also the balance, we have separate bank accounts for our reserve funds. The total amount in the reserve funds should always equal the total amounts reserved for. And this month they were out of balance, they didn't agree. So that's an issue. On the operating account, I didn't see any recognized interest from either one of the CDs. I don't know if they've changed to something that's noticed quarterly or every 6 months, but we're receiving interest recognized monthly, so I'm not sure what changed. And if it's right, we need an explanation. If it's not right, we need it fixed. We had a prolonged period of time without service from an inverter at the gates, and we were supposed to get a credit, but the monthly charge was in full for the month of February and January. There's no credits applied, so we need the management company to get with an inverter and see where those credits are at, make sure they get applied properly. And then on the electric charge, last month we talked about how it went up drastically. It was in years past about $1,200 a month, now it's like $3,600, it's threefold. So there was a bill paid in January, and then when we got the financials for February, they had January and February in there. It looks like they had processed a January invoice twice. And And then when I sent in the note, they said, we voted one out, but again, that was after the financials were done. And so, that brings me to my last comment, all these things that are recognized and they make changes, once financials are produced, they shouldn't be changed. If there's an adjustment, it's recognized in the next month. If there is a change, we should be noted that there's a change and get updated financials. And that hasn't happened. So when I noticed this happen, I went in and said, okay, let me look at the year-to-date, it's only 2 months in. So if I take February off year-to-date, it should equal my January number. And there were several accounts that didn't equal, which means there were adjustments in January after the statements we were given. And in December, there were adjustments after we were given because the amount that rolled over on the owner's equity didn't agree with the December financials. And so, I want to make sure that there's rules in place, and financials are very specific. Once they're final, they should be locked down, they shouldn't be changed. If there's any emergency where there's a need, it should be communicated to us. And I would also like to get now send to me the final copies for December, January, and February, so I can update my records. So, given those notes, we'll go through the financials.
Yeah, and just interject real quick, the CFO is supposed to get involved with those issues and work out what's happening and why.
Yeah, and those comments I just made were all documented in my emails, so they should have them and they should be able to read them and see what's going on.
Yep.
I even noted about the changes after they've been issued. And it's one of the things they said, it's according to the contract, you know, to have the financials till the 20th. Well, I read the contract, maybe I missed it, I didn't see where it said there's a date, but if the 20th is the day, then, 3 weeks in, there should be no reason why they can't be completed. A lot of companies have them completed by the 10th of the month. The 20th should be plenty of time. We just need good communication. So anyway, I highlighted, you can see where I highlighted in February, the $99,000, that's the number that didn't agree with the reconciled bank statements. And I understand that there was an adjustment. And then the next one down in January highlighted, that's the one that was not properly renewed as a CD that we're not earning interest on, that needs to be fixed.
And that still hasn't been?
No, not as of the end of February, I don't know if it's been done in March. The comment I got back was that there's a new controller, and she said, well, I assumed it was taken care of by David, I think it was the prior controller.
Right.
I'll have to check into it. Or I can read it actually, I have the comments right here. And here's a comment. I thought this had already been resolved with David, I will look into it.
Okay.
And on this one, the 99,000 was adjusted, they originally had in here 95,525, the difference of $3,709.65. I go through them fairly thoroughly, so I catch a lot of things. And we're not trying to be difficult, we just want to be accurate, because we count on these, and it's our money, it's the homeowner's money, and we make sure we make the dollars count.
All right.
So down over there, the next thing you'll see is I highlighted the total reserve funds. And then if you go down just below it, the total reserves, you can see that there was a difference. Now, if you look at the month before, they were the same, that's what it's supposed to be. All right, going down to the, next line.
Can I interject? This is the controller.
This is Susan.
Yes.
Yes. The difference between what's in the reserve account and the assets section, and the difference of what the total reserve amount is the liability. There's an accounts payable on the reserve side, the asphalt.
Usually we accrue for accounts payable for operating expenses, not for capital.
No, you don't, it's an expense that is
Right.
in accounts payable.
No, I understand what you're saying, it was accrued for in accounts payable, and what I'm just saying is that generally.
That's what it's accrued for.
Well, no, if it was recognized and not paid, it's accrued. The account
But
is.
it's getting ready to be paid, it's going through the AP process. Accrueds are different than AP.
Mhm.
Accrueds are, if you're expecting a bill but you don't have it yet, you wanna accrue for that amount of money in that particular
Okay.
timeframe. But accounts payable, we have the bill, it's just gotta get approved.
So you're saying it's a timing thing, and that's fine, so.
Probably a 5 or 7 day process.
Alright, so as long as you're here, did you find anything out about the bank account?
I'm not gonna talk about any of that until we talk with Michelle. But I just wanted to chime in on this because I mean, if you look at the total liabilities and equity, it equals the 419,99338, which is the same under the reserve.
Alright, so you're saying it's a timing
for
thing.
Total assets. So the
Alright.
assets equal the liabilities.
So-
There's just that accounts payable you have to take into account.
Now, I understand that. Alright, so we'll look for next month's balance. And so down in the next number, I highlighted in January, the retained earnings 421. At the end of each year, the month before, the total equity usually rolls over into the new retained earnings number. And you can see the year ended at 423, and when it rolled over, it's 421. When I sent that message last month to David, he said, well, there was an entry done after our financials that changed it. And so I asked, but I haven't received a copy of the final December financials, which I would like to get, the final December, January, February.
Yeah, I can send those.
Yes, and then, and I
I
had
wanna make
mentioned,
sure that we have.
yeah,
The invoice, I was waiting to get the invoice package. Do
okay.
you need that for January too, or just?
I have the invoice package for January, I need the invoice package for February, and I need the final financials for December, January, and February.
Gotcha, okay.
Alright, and then just pointing out the interest, you can see on, second page, 44070, interest operating accounts. You can see we were recognizing interest each month for several months, but in February it's only $2, so I'm not sure if if the structure of the accounts changed, or if it was not recognized, or what it is.
I can't talk about the CDs right now.
No, I'm not asking you to. I'm just giving my report. I'm not asking you.
I think the interest is recognized at the end of the term.
Well, it was recognized every month previously.
I haven't verified anything, and I don't want to speak on anything I haven't verified.
That's fine. I'm not asking you to answer these now. I'm just trying to give my report to the board.
Yeah, we'll clarify all of this, once the CFO gets involved with it also. Okay, Lenny?
Right, and then going down in February, you can see the miscellaneous at 216. But I've learned to realize, looking through the journal ledger, that is the amount we charge for the, I guess the, I don't know if you call it what do you call it, Vantica or whatever the systems we can sign into?
Software?
The
Yeah.
software. So, and as I mentioned, in addition to the, monthly $2,000, $1995, that we pay for management fees, we're paying separate for the software, for the dashboard, for access to it, and use of it, which, so that really, in essence, makes the, management fees $2,200. Then moving down into the pool amenity area, I just wanted, there's nothing wrong with it, but it was $800. Last month, I guess the invoice came in late, it wasn't, paid or recognized, so there was no charge. This month it's $8, so overall it's about, on average. We had a pressure washing bill for $1,490, which I know that we were getting pressure washing done.
Yep, next month.
On this one, on the third page on the top, the security services are highlighted just because it's consistent. It should be the same every month, but we should have gotten a credit, so I was looking for that. I didn't see any credit, and that's why I was saying that, we need to follow up and get those credits from Invera.
Yep, I've already followed up with them and awaiting to hear back, but.
The streetlight electric, I think, has been changed already. On the first set of financials I got, it was $7,500, so the invoice that was, I guess a duplicate was credited off, and now it's back at 3,900, which is still excessively high, but at least it's the 1 month. And that's all I have. If there's any questions, I'll
So
try to
there,
answer.
so there was a duplicate
Yes,
at first.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in the notes that I sent out. I can read them, sure. Streetlight electric charge, doubled, we were charged for January, invoice in January, and in February, it looks like we were charged for February and January. I'm not sure I fully understand what you're referring to, so I explained below. And, I guess the comment back is you'll notice that January dated 1/20/3709 was voided and removed from the ledger. So I guess that was done after my comment, because the initial financials had the duplicate in there. But at least it's been corrected. But again, it's another case where we're changing financials after they're done. And we just have to say, when are they done? And then they should be locked down and not ever changed.
All right, thanks, thanks Lenny.
If there's any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Okay, rears report,
No questions.
did anybody have anything?
Try to be thorough.
Yeah, you always are. The one property that's with the attorney, is still, proceeding properly. No issues there. And then, one of the things that I did want to point out, and I informed Katie about this, the message I got back from the attorney was, there was an issue with the costs that, access charges for the, NOLAs, and that is a charge. We can assess a reasonable charge against homeowners, but it has to be part of the letter that goes out to them. So I gave all that information to Katie and informed her that we need to make sure that when those letters go out, that verbiage is included in there so that we can recoup that cost when that time comes. And right now, we're at a total of $36,838.55 balance. And yeah, 78% of the accounts are over 60 days. But Access is sending out the NOLAs and charging the interest and the late fees, and also any admin fees, as I mentioned, so that we can recoup those when that time comes. Yes?
Prime that we set up with Slayton, if I could recall, I believe that Slayton does it for free. He doesn't charge us.
Yeah, he doesn't charge us, but Access charges for the admin fees that they charge for, I guess that's
Send it, probably.
the letters that go out. They have an admin fee associated with that.
But Slayton sends the letters out, not Access.
I think the initial late fee for 30 days.
30 days goes, well, we used to let the previous companies do it,
Yeah,
okay? But Slayton in the Prime, that's what we signed up for, has the option of doing it for free, and he sends out the letters. That's part of our Prime package. I mean, you could do it any way you guys want. I'm just trying to save the HOA money.
Yeah, oh no, believe me, that's perfectly fine. We're trying to protect, well, we're all trying to protect the homeowner's interests. So I'll double check on that, but it's their admin fees that they charge for sending that out.
How much are the fees, if you want me asking?
$75.
A NOAA letter?
Looks like it.
yeah. But even for the late, if there's a notice, if they're 10 days late, we send out a letter. If there's a charge for that, we pass it on to the homeowner.
Yes,
We shouldn't need any expenses, they should bill, add every fee onto the homeowner's account.
absolutely, and that's what I'm saying is I checked with the attorney and he said, yes, we can do that. We just have to make sure that when that letter goes out, it's included in there. So, but yeah, Vinnie brings up the point also that if Florence and Slayton are taking care of that for us,
Yeah.
then they're the ones that are responsible for doing that.
Yeah, but we probably won't have 10-day reminders, and so we just wanna make sure that those 10-day reminder fees that we get by our management company, because they charge us for those reminders at 10 days.
Yep.
They get it to the
Yep.
resident's account, so, because we can't be paying for it.
Oh, no. That's the key is to, get all of that recouped at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, board reports, director.
I don't have anything.
Treasurer,
That's.
you're already done. Mr. Secretary.
Yeah, several things. Katie sent out an email to everybody with what looked like an RFP, a bid from a painting company. And, what I didn't see in that bid was, for example, how many gallons of paint, how many gallons of primer, how it's gonna be done, how many people are gonna work on it. Yeah, I think if we're gonna be asking for bids to do work, those RFPs, those bids should contain details in terms of the cost of the materials that are being used, and that should be separate from the cost of the man hours,
Okay,
and they
let
need
me-
to do that.
Let me save you. I sent out an email a little while ago, before the meeting. So Katie's gonna have that, she's developed an RFP that's gonna go out to all of the contractors for painting.
No,
And that company that sent in their bid is gonna conform to that as well, so we can do apples to apples.
That's essential, because, I don't think the community, for example, if somebody goes out and buys, let's say, 1,000 gallons of paint, what are we paying per gallon, what are we paying for 1,000? What is the markup that the person doing the job is gonna put on that paint? Because the way that bid was received, $14,000 to do a paint job.
Well, the bid was missing a lot of other.
Oh, yeah, it was
information,
missing a lot of
like
details, but I think we should have, it should be a very
Right.
strict policy that the management company needs to have in place to get these details for us, because otherwise, we're gonna get marked up, okay? And we need to avoid that. The other thing I wanted to bring up was, the RFP is gonna come out, which I think you also addressed in an email. If we're looking at, the community amenities, which, you and I walked through them very carefully, we walked through them with Katie. They're in terrible shape. The tennis courts are in terrible shape. The basketball court has a Grand Canyon right down the middle of it, okay? We need to have professionals look at that. You brought that up, I think, in an email. But when I look here at what we have for maintenance, tennis court maintenance and basketball court maintenance, $750 and $500 for the year. It just, if Regency Hills is a community where we value our properties, okay, keeping in mind the desire of everybody to keep assessments down, the community amenities are part of the value of our property. And if you have community amenities that are deteriorated, and they are very deteriorated, not even to bring up the risk of liability if somebody trips over one of those sidewalks and breaks a bone.
I just want to give you a piece of, that $500, $700 is meant for normal maintenance, like net replacement or things like that. The deterioration, if you look on the first page, under reserves.
No, I'm looking at reserves, I saw that too.
All right,
I
you've
saw
got
that too.
40, between tennis court and basketball court, you've got $41,000 reserved towards updating those.
No, I saw that, and that's good, but we're gonna have to address that, because
Yeah.
right now, frankly, it looks trashy.
Yeah, we have funds set aside to do that.
Okay, The other thing, and this is something Katie brought up, okay? Common area tree cutbacks. When we were touring the front of the community a month ago, we saw a whole bunch of trees hanging over properties. Katie made the statement that, since it's community area trees, the HOA has to cut those branches back. And I remember you saying, Lenny, a few months ago, that that kind of work corresponded to the property owner, not the community. You remember that comment about 4 or 5 months ago? I do, because it came
I
up.
remember the conversation, but I don't remember saying it's the property owner.
Okay, I'm just bringing that up. We
Why
need
would the
to,
property owner be responsible for common area trees?
we have a property owner at the entrance, Greg Benge, who has hanging over his house now a whole bunch of oak tree branches. I brought that up about 4 months ago, and I specifically recall being told that that was not the responsibility of the community, that it was the homeowner's responsibility to trim those branches back. I specifically remember that. I think you were here too, Joe, and I think you remember that too. And we need to resolve that, because if a branch falls on his house, it could damage his roof, and then his insurance company might try to recover what they have to pay out to him. They might try to recover it from the community. So we need to clarify that. I'll also add, I'm not carrying water for Greg here, but Greg is a military veteran, and actually he's been in combat and stuff like that. So if we ever got into a civil liability kind of thing, we'd be in a bad place, I think. The way, just bringing that up.
So on that, I have read recently that there is a law change going into place.
Correct.
Regarding where a branch falls, et cetera, and that could be now our liability, as I understand what I read.
Perfect.
However, did that pass?
Not yet.
Not yet, it's ready to pass, but.
Right, so currently, until that passes, if, like, I have a neighbor, their oak tree is overgrowing into my yard a little bit. It is basically at my property line, anything going up from that is mine. So it is on me to trim his tree branches that are coming in. And if one of those branches falls on my house, unless the tree is dying or diseased, it's an act of God.
Well, the whole area over Greg's house, okay, is overhung not by one branch, but by a lot of branches. It extends well over his roof. These are oak trees that have never been properly maintained or trimmed as they should have been. And it's something that even if that statute has not been approved yet, and I guess Vinny here knows about that, because you follow all that stuff, right?
That's right.
You've been doing all the zoning stuff.
Trust Elliot, that was good.
Yeah, so, that's something I think that we're gonna have to address sooner rather than later, because, that isn't just hanging a little bit over his house. I took pictures of it, and it's hanging over more than 1/3 of his roof, all the way across, because it's not one tree, it's more like 20 branches and big ones, and they're way up there.
Maybe we can resolve that issue easily. Usually, once every other year, before the hurricane season, we have all the trees in common property properly trimmed back to avoid issues during hurricane time. So I think we're due this year, and so maybe we should look into, prior to June, having all of the common property trees appropriately trimmed for hurricane endurance.
So one of the reasons, the main reason that we, when we did the RFP for the landscape contract, was to include companies that have tree service ability. And I'm not talking about climbing a ladder and cutting down a branch. I'm talking about buckets and tree removal and all that kind of stuff. So 3 of the 4 companies have that capability. So it would be a whole lot easier for us. The whole purpose was to have the ease of getting our landscapers to then come in and take care of that for
And
us.
hopefully if they commit to a price ahead of time, we'll have a decent price.
Well, it's not part of the package per se, but,
But if they can supply the price for whatever we want, and
Yep.
it's an option, a menu, you want these services, here's the cost.
Yep.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be able to compare that to what we're paying now. And it's do you know what we pay on a yearly basis for that tree service that we do, Letty?
No, I don't have a, I don't know.
I think we've just done
In my history, I
as
can probably go
needed.
back and
Yeah.
tell you. Well, no, but I mean, I know we've paid in the past, I don't know how that would be, I don't think.
But yeah, the whole purpose was to try and have that capability built in. So, we'll have to pay for it separately from the normal landscape contract cost, but, we'll have, you know, we should have a company that's, able to, respond to those types of situations pretty quick.
Yeah. It was significant, and when they do that, we should look at. I can't read, it's too small. Right, that's what was budgeted.
That's what we budgeted.
$9,000, so, okay.
No, it's
So
in there.
that's, we have $9,000 in the budget for it.
Okay, excellent.
That could get used up just in that front area.
Well, we need to look at all, not just the ones in the front, like, there's a common property tree between my house and the house next to me.
Yep.
And it's well overgrown over both houses, and if that comes down, it's gonna damage both our houses, I mean, that should be put on the list.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we'll sweep all of those areas, to put together a comprehensive list of what we've got and where we are. Jack, you got anything else?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things. We have spoken informally before, you and I think you've spoken with other board members yourself, about the issues with a very small number of owners who think they're in the Daytona 500 and they blast through the stop signs and they, you know, speed down Valiant Drive or Majestic Isle. About trying to do something about that. I think we, at some point, need to put that on the agenda, and sooner rather than later, we'll bring it up before someone gets hurt. I did witness 3 weeks ago a young man, or who I assume was a young man, doing donuts at the entrance of our community, and he did a donut and came right into Valiant Drive doing his donut. I was standing in my driveway when he did it, and then he sped off down Majestic Isle. Somebody eventually is gonna get hurt. God forbid, it's a child, or somebody out walking their dog or exercising in the
That's on the
community.
agenda.
We need to do something about that. The other thing that I would welcome Joe's input from this, on this, we had a homeowner who made a request to do some driveway work. And Joe rightly pointed out that the apron and the sidewalk is part of the community area or public area, and that the ARC only limits itself to what is the property plot, correct?
That's correct.
But that raised an interesting question for me, because if on the one hand, we as owners are required to maintain that grassy strip and pressure wash the sidewalk and the apron, even if it's a public area, okay, what happens when we have an issue like we have with the sidewalks in the community area? But if you walk around our neighborhood, you will see some concrete slabs that are raised. You will see aprons that have the edges crumbling into the gutter. There's a lot of slabs that are cracked, okay? Now, if we as owners are responsible for maintaining each of those public areas in front of our home, who then is responsible
It's
for
easy.
the repairs?
It's in our bylaws. We're responsible for normal maintenance and all of that. For major stuff like the cracks and placing whole concrete slabs, the driveway apron is the homeowner, the sidewalks is the association.
I would ask Joe to comment on that when he gives his ARC report. I mean, you follow that very closely, but that's something I think we need to look at. 'Cause, I mean, I've repaired my driveway, okay, it had cracks because of roots, so I did that expansion, and we cut out like 500 pounds of roots and sealed the cracks. But I walk around the neighborhood at night, and I noticed a lot of properties with cracked slabs, you know, sidewalk slabs. And we have one neighbor who asked me more than a year ago, he asked me long before I was brought on the board, he asked me, who's gonna repair this, because the edges of his apron are actually, they're crumbling, they've turned into gravel.
The apron is his responsibility. Now, the sidewalk, but the sidewalk
Even
is.
even if the apron where it's crumbling is actually the curb side?
No,
Because
I don't,
that's
I don't
what's
believe that's
crumbling.
correct,
No,
so
no,
that's not correct.
The curb is the association's responsibility, the apron is the homeowner's responsibility, it's in the bylaws.
For maintenance.
No, for repair. For normal maintenance, the homeowner's responsible for everything. For structural things like, and if the sidewalk's cracked because the homeowner did something at fault, like was putting in a pole and went over it with a truck, they gotta be responsible for that. But it's in the bylaws, we did an amendment that talked to that specifically.
In the covenant?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Was that?
So we need to
wait a
clear-
minute, was that put out to a vote to all the owners when it was done? Cause don't we,
Yeah.
aren't we supposed to vote on that with 265 owners?
We did.
The amendment was voted on.
Yeah,
It was, down by the pool, in the parking lot.
okay.
There's only been one amendment.
Okay.
It was voted on. So we're not gonna fix that here tonight?
No, I wanted to
Obviously,
bring
we have
that
address-
up because it's an interesting issue from the viewpoint of the ARC, okay?
Okay.
From our viewpoint on the ARC, it's an interesting question, and I think at some point, when you look at the number of slabs that are cracked and stuff like that, repairing a crack in a slab could be considered maintenance, yeah?
Mhm.
But re-pouring part of the apron where it joins the street right at the curb, which is where most of that damage is located. When you walk around the neighborhood, you'll see it at different properties. You know, where's the line between the owner's responsibility and the community's responsibility? I just think that's something that the ARC needs to look at, and the board maybe needs to look at too, because we do have a community that's more than 20 years old, and concrete degrades, and we have concrete degrading all over the community. You know, we have Margaret's driveway, for example, has liver spots. You know?
Yep. Okay.
So
what else you got?
does your sidewalk.
Oh, yeah.
Has liver spots, you know?
Well, mine was self-inflicted by previous owners, but,
Anyway, that's it for me.
okay. Mr. Vice President?
So did you want me to speak about?
Yes.
Yeah, so the street lighting has gone up 300%, as we've seen, we looked into that, and that is a direct increase from SECO. It's gonna go up another 300% next year, and, so obviously this impacts our budget and finances, because it's an unexpected
600%.
increase.
2 years.
Think about the places like the villages with tens of thousands of lights, their costs are going up tremendously. So, you know, we're gonna be impacted by this. So, I think we have three options really. Option one is to increase HOA dues to, take on this 600% increase in street lighting. Option two is to disconnect the lights. There's really four options. Option three is to remove the lights. And option four is to remove the lights and either put in larger lights at the intersections of the community, which I've seen other communities do. I've also seen other communities put in, essentially require the homeowners themselves to have a lamp post in their front yards. That is a small lamp post. So this is kind of what we're looking at right now, in terms of what we're gonna do, because this cost is
No, it's exorbitant.
exorbitant.
So there may be another option to consider
Yeah.
as well. So, Teresa, you wanna?
My boss his neighborhood is significantly smaller than ours, but they all voted, okay, turn them all off. So they turned them all off. And then they had a homeowner who said, I have a light post on my property, and he called Seco and said, what do we gotta do to turn this light on? And they put it on his bill, and it's back to the original cost before all the
Yeah, what was the
increase.
cost?
I think they said $24 a year. Like, it wasn't that low before the increases.
Oh, I don't know how many we had,
Because
we
it
were
was a
paying about
residential
12.
rate.
Yeah, we were paying about $1,200
Mm-hmm.
in total. If we know how many poles, we could divide that and
73.
Alright, so divide 1,250 by 73.
It's just another option to consider.
Some poles aren't at the residence.
Right.
homes.
They're all, in our
But they're
neighborhood,
all
they're
right in the
all
middle.
like between a property,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like on the line.
$17.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
13,
And
12.
the front gate as well, I believe, like before the gate, there's some lamp posts there. So-
Yeah, those are the question marks.
But those are, I mean, if we take on one or two, that's fine. So, I think that we need to come up with a few options, you know, really, we already have the options. We need to really talk about this and figure out, I would suggest at the next meeting that this be put on the agenda as an official item that we kind of work through.
Is solar lights an option too?
So there are some solar light companies out there. One of them that I was looking at they essentially have a standalone light post with solar panels on top of it, and a battery that is included in the lamp, not the lamp itself, but the whole housing down below. So that is something that we can consider. And they do have, good financing options from what I saw, and, they can also just build it into a recurring cost, kind of like what Stecco is doing. But it's just
How much
something
on
on
it?
the way out. So, don't know that, didn't go that far. But I think no matter what, looking at an appropriate amount of lights in the neighborhood is also important, because we have 73 lights. I've seen other neighborhoods that have 5, but they just have larger poles at the actual intersections themselves.
So the neighborhood across the street that has the solar lights, I drove through that too. Theirs go like this.
Yeah, they alternate
Yeah.
between houses across each district.
So
Yeah,
they have,
ours
I
do
think they
too.
have,
I think they were a little further away though.
theirs, yeah, I think
They were
theirs are
spaced
stretched
further.
out a little more.
So do we know this $3,600 cost, what the cost breakdown is between the maintenance of the of the pole and the actual energy cost associated with it? Is it broken down in any way like that?
I haven't seen a breakdown.
Okay.
It's definitely something that we could, look into getting. From what I was reading, it was mainly about the maintenance of the poles being much more than Secco had anticipated, so it's not really a power thing as much as they installed a bunch of poles in these neighborhoods. A couple hurricanes hit, they weren't budgeted for that. They're gonna pass that cost on.
Mm-hmm.
Like the insurance company.
Yeah.
Well, I think the option of not having any lights at all is not a good option.
Yeah, I think we won't
We
want some
need,
for sure.
we need some kind of lighting, maybe not, certainly not what we have now, but we need some kind of lighting. You have people walking through the community. I get up every morning at 5 in the morning. We have people walking in the community when it's dark in the morning, when it's dark at night.
Yeah,
A
walking.
lot of people
Walking
jogging
dogs.
in the community, riding bicycles, and most of the people I see are definitely not wearing reflective clothing, okay? So we need some kind of lighting solution. I agree, we can't go with what we have now. Those poles are also 20 years old, I think, you know? And there surely are better options, but not having any lights at all, I don't think is a good option.
Okay.
Especially since we've had this issue of a attempted burglary a few weeks back. I mean, if the whole community is dark, then what are we gonna do? Put up motion sensor lights on our homes? They'll be turning on and off all night long.
Elliot, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, President's report. So everybody's aware of the problems that we had with the front gates over the weekend. Well, I'm assuming everybody's aware, should be. So they came out yesterday. Mickey is their best technician. Vinny can attest to that. And he clarified things that, no, nothing was ordered for these, for the kiosk to fix it. And we were waiting for supplies to come in. They just hadn't investigated far enough. So he determined that the camera as part of the kiosk that provides the audio support for listening and also talking needed to be replaced. He took care of that today, so everything is back on track. But we have some serious problems with Envera giving us false information, and we're gonna work on clarifying that. Tony is gonna take over the work on the Envera contract and support to try and get this thing straightened out, figured out what's going on, what's happening and why. And in the meantime, we've been doing, putting together some requirements analysis for future gate system technology. And Jack, I haven't sent you anything yet, but there's a HOA Expo coming up next month.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
So,
You did
yeah,
say
if you wanna sign up for it, I'm
Yeah.
already signed up for it. And
We have to
hopefully-
take more training sessions, or are we gonna be?
No, but we can hit the vendors up and especially, you know, if anybody's there for
Free stuff.
security,
Free
gate
stuff.
security.
A lot of free keychains, huh?
Yep.
Keychains, pens, golf balls, tennis
The-
balls.
The new LED lighting for the entrance
Sure.
monuments was installed, so thank goodness we're back looking like a regal neighborhood. We awarded the contract for the back gate pedestrian gate locks. Those are gonna be keyed the same as the front gates. And as I discussed earlier, at some point in the future, we'll look at, tap card technology, to help with that. And we also awarded the contract to have the back gate equipment landscape, with bushes to reduce the noise level from the equipment cabinet. And they're also fixing the existing well to provide irrigation for the new landscaping there. We've received the 4 bids for the landscaping contract, mentioned that before. We're gonna discuss that shortly. And the spring yard sale is, a week from this Saturday, April 5th. And had to purchase a new banner, to replace the existing one that was falling apart. But I've already got that ready to go.
Cheaper not to
So-
have a yard sale.
So, so I'll put that up, and, and that's it. Committee reports, Joe?
Usually.
All right, let's see, ARC, we have one open request. Should have that closed out here as soon as we all vote on it. And then Fine Committee, we have a meeting scheduled for April 22nd.
Excellent. Yeah, that's the, that property has been a pain forever. Okay, old business. Back pedestrian gate locksmith work status, just updated you on that. Landscape contract RFPs. Everybody's seen them. Tony pointed out, one key item, if you wanna talk about that,
I'd have to see that
Oh.
list, cause I.
So the issue
didn't know you were
with-
gonna ask me that.
the issue with the, cutting of the, retention ponds, you said
Yeah, well-
Yellowstone was,
So, Florida Landscape only cuts the retention area 20 times a year.
They don't do that, it's in their contract, they don't do 20.
Well, I know, their contract says they're gonna do it 20 times a year.
right,
If we want them to do it more than 20 times a year, I don't remember off the top of my head now what the cost was, I put it in the email when I sent it out. But it was a significant amount. And Yellowstone's, proposal is 32 times a year is what they, I believe is what they are contracting, to do if awarded. And in order to get Florida Landscape to do that, it brought the difference in the price of the quotes up to where the difference was, I think, $13,000 difference. I'd have to go back and pull up that email that I
So
sent.
that accounts for, they're charging less on the quote because they give you less service.
Correct.
So,
And not only they're quoting less service, they're actually doing less service than what they originally quoted to us.
Yeah.
And they do a horrible job.
Right, Yellow seems like, you know, I mean, they look like it's a decent,
Dues are going up.
organization. The question I have though is, how many times a year do we want them to do the back? And if 32 is the right number, great. If we only say 125, will they just a bid down by the difference? And I'm not saying we want to, but that's the question for all of us of what's the right number? Now, I can tell you, during the winter time, those areas don't grow hardly anything at all, but during the summertime, the
Right.
weeds are up to your knees.
Correct.
And that's because they're not even doing the 20.
Right.
Yeah, ours right now is, they're up like that.
So, and if 32 is the right number, then that's fine, but if it's, you know, we should decide that before we contract, so we can adjust it to what we think the right number is if it's not the right number. Then that's a good catch.
32 times a year would be practically on a weekly basis, except during the so-called Florida winter months.
Right. I don't know, I think 32 times a year is reasonable. But it's hard to know, because like you pointed out, Florida landscape is not even done it to 22 times a year, or at least it doesn't appear like they have.
Does the common area like include also that space of common area between Heartwood Marsh and the back of the properties that parallel Heartwood Marsh?
I think they're mowing
It
that
should,
down,
right? Well, I don't see them go back there very often, because you can always hear them with their lawnmower when they do go
Oh,
back.
so you mean behind your
Once
house?
in a blue
So-
moon.
Behind your house?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the common areas are 42 times a year. The retention areas are 32 times a year.
Yeah.
Well, they're not doing the common areas 42 times.
No, I'm talking about, you know, one of these
So-
other ones.
Yeah,
Florida
so there's a lot they're
Florida
not doing.
landscape, Florida landscape, they're saying they're cutting 42 times a year, the common areas, 22 times a year, the retention areas.
No.
So
I
that
know,
area
I know
probably
they're not doing the
retention.
common areas, because they don't do behind my house except like maybe once a month.
Yeah, that's why they're not doing 20. They're doing 10 probably, just probably a couple months a year they don't do any. But they're supposed to mow there. That's why they asked specifically to have a key to that gate at the end, so they can get back there to mow and do what they need to do.
I've also had a couple of neighbors say to me, hey, they threw a branch over my fence into my backyard.
Did they charge you for it?
Huh? What, the property owner or the,
Well, that's the property owner who was charged for the branch, maybe they.
Oh, I don't know. It's like when a branch falls off a tree, instead of removing it, if it's on the property owner's side of the common area, they pick it up and throw it over the fence. I've had two owners on Valiant, they were mentioning this.
So there's your, email.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so the Yellowstone proposal, like I said here, so the Yellowstone proposal is approximately $24,000 higher than the next lowest one, which was Florida Landscape. But if you account for the differences, to compare apples to apples, to add the additional retention area cuttings is an additional $18,000 for Florida Landscape Professionals. So it makes the difference in the two quotes much smaller. Let's see. So the other difference is Florida Landscape does, currently in their contract, they're supposed to empty the trash cans. And I think that's 52 times a year, but I'm pretty confident that they're probably not doing that, but I can't say with 100% certainty. That is not currently, was not in the original estimate that Yellowstone provided, but we did reach out and get them to provide us with an add-on for that, and it was gonna be $1,500 to empty the trash cans 52 times per year.
Okay,
So this 80.5 will be 82.
Yeah. Yep, and if you add the additional services to Florida Landscape, it brought theirs up to, about 76,000.
Yeah, and they're cheaper on the flowers.
Yeah, that was another thing that I noted here, in this email. We have some additional estimates. So there's additional estimates here from Florida Landscape to do additional plantings, at the front and on the entrance exit side. Some mulch, let's see.
What they quoted on that?
So there was 6278 for installation of, plants and pine bark at the front monuments, almost $2,500 for installation of plants and pine bark mulch, on the entrance, to enhance the exit side parking lot. Is that around the pool maybe? I'm not sure.
That's in the front by the parking lot when you first come in.
Okay,
It's the opposite where the old sign is. So you have it on one side and the other side.
okay.
Presumably, they would also stop blowing the leaves into the plants and
Correct.
flower beds, which is what kills them in the first place.
So like enhancements or upgrades. I mean, I don't know, it's up to you guys, but I think we should decide who we want to be our provider and then deal with any enhancements and upgrades after we have that provider.
Yeah, no, I 100%
Can
agree.
I agree. I have another question. When these companies talk about, putting in flower beds for so much for this area, I mean, do they ever share with us the unit cost of the flowers that are being installed?
Yep, that is on here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, for annuals, it's $1.94 a flower, with Florida Landscape, it's $1.80 a flower, with Yellowstone, $2.50 a flower with floral.
Okay.
So, I mean, those prices are on there.
so we need to move forward. We're running out of time.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we approve Yellowstone for the new contract year for the landscape contract.
I'll second.
Okay?
Tony.
Tony,
Any discussion?
oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Any discussion? I thought we had already had it, but,
Yeah, I think we've had it pretty much.
Okay.
We had time to look at them. I think Yellowstone is definitely a better option than the service we have now.
Right.
We've had Florida Landscaping for what, 15 some years, but 20,
yeah, but
and they're just not delivering.
after they're done, I went through after they mowed and everything, and I took pictures of all the trash they left behind. We had a big plastic bag stuck in the entranceway sewer, right when you first turn into the community, and it was there for 3 weeks. And I
They didn't pick up that water bottle filled with urine that was in the common area at the entrance for about 3 weeks either.
Okay.
Sitting right there between the trees.
So we have a motion on the table, to approve Yellowstone. We have a second.
I'll second the motion.
No.
Tony already did.
Oh, sorry, Tom.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, everybody?
Still have to say
Okay.
opposed.
We need to move along. Renew effort for painting pool fence, we already talked about that. And the RFP, Katie sent that out for all of us to look at. So if you can get that reviewed by this weekend, that would be great. Motion to approve the golf cart policy.
New business.
We had an email from somebody that said that there was a family that had 9 and 10-year-olds driving the golf cart up to the pool community, and they were running stop signs and going fast and everything. So,
You have it here, right?
this is, yeah, it should be in there. This is the golf
Yeah, I saw it
cart,
a while ago.
golf cart policy. This was sent out.
Yes.
And the only thing that I added to was unfortunately the part about violation and fines, subject to fines in accordance with Florida land statutes. Can you see it then?
Now I can.
You got the written.
I was about to ask you.
This is just the agenda.
Oh.
Yeah.
There,
There
read
you
it.
go.
Oh, thank you.
So. So I'll open it up for discussion. Any comments?
I passed my comment when you sent it out.
Yep.
You made a change and I'm good.
Yes.
I think the policy as it's written, I think complies with Florida traffic statutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it covers our backs in terms of risks and liabilities to the community. I don't, even if a minor without a license is capable of driving at Florida statutes, still requires certain things, and we have to comply with that legally.
I agree. Okay.
If anything happens, kid wrecks it, and then we're gonna get sued, you know.
So, I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the golf cart policy as it stands.
And I'll second the motion.
Jack or John?
Julian is gonna get that one.
Second, all in favor? Aye. All in favor? Okay.
It's reasonable, no, gentlemen?
I'll wait till my part comes up so I can talk about it.
Okay. Okay, common grounds, safety issues, sidewalks, top mulch, play equipment condition, we talked about all that. Tennis and basketball courts, I did send out an email earlier, and I'm gonna suggest that we separate the tennis and basketball court repairs
Yes.
from the sidewalk repairs, because that's a
Yes,
different animal.
definitely.
We might even wanna have this basketball and the tennis as two separate bids.
Yep.
Because it might be different companies that gear themselves to it. Tennis court companies deal with the nets and I don't know if the finishes. I'm not
Well-
an expert, but.
No, that's a good point.
You mentioned also we should have it inspected by a professional to see what it needs.
Yeah, and I don't think we wanna tell them that it may need resurfacing. Let's let them tell us if it needs resurfacing.
Do an assessment, yeah.
I think honestly, what we wanna do is look for it to be repaired first and foremost.
Yes.
If it's gonna work and it's reasonable.
Because cracks are
legitimate
gonna
cost.
continue opening up because of land subsiding.
Right, they're gonna be the experts, and there's plenty of
See
companies
this?
out there that do that. So we'll do all that. Common area tree trimming work, we already talked about this, and with the approval of Yellowstone, they have all the bucket trucks and everything to be able to handle all of that.
Great.
And speeding and stop sign runners in our community, I'm gonna do some more research on this, and I'll bring that up at the next meeting, I'll get it out to everybody. And then Gate services, we talked about that. I'll send out the requirements that I've just started genning up, since this past weekend, so that we can start moving forward on, looking at, what technology and what services are out there and what other companies, may do a better job than what we're getting right now.
I have a question on the speeding and stop sign runners thing, and it's not necessarily related to that. I saw, Facebook, Tim Betts' Facebook, that, there was a posting where it was stated that the Claremont Police Department believes that the attempted burglary of an owner's home recently was an inside job perpetrated by
Someone
somebody
within the
living in the community. I'm kinda curious as to why Claremont PD believes that, and what, if anything, is being done about that? Because if it happened once, it's gonna we have somebody in the community that does that, it's gonna happen again. Like when people go away for a few days to the beach, or they go traveling, there's a couple of owners now I know who are traveling. There's one owner I know who travels frequently and lives alone, so I'm just curious about that. I
Okay.
mean, why does Claremont PD think that? What are they doing about it?
I'll talk to the attorney and see if he can, get some information on that stuff.
Because
There was one.
if it happens again, somebody might wind up shot. This is Florida, you know?
Mhm.
No, it's against our bylaws to shoot people, we'll find them. Just kidding. The only thing we don't have on there, I don't know if we want to put it on there, is
Next time.
conversation about cleaning holiday lights. We're gonna start looking for vendors next year.
Oh, yeah, Katie's providing that RFP to us as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a
I'm
good
sorry.
management report. No, that's fine. Okay, so owners forum. Owners have 3 minutes each to speak to the board on topics of interest to them, so please identify yourself and have
You
your
go
way.
first.
Who's up?
You go first. I got some.
Oops, hang on. Got Angel. Excuse me.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Yes, hi. Well, first of all, I wanna thank you for keeping a close eye on our finances. It was pretty alarming what we heard.
Yeah, so,
And I'm.
so Angel, hold on just a second. Our policy is that the call-in is just for, listening purposes only. If you have something that you want to send us, you can send it to us, or you can attend the next meeting, and
All right.
we'll address it then. But if it's something of importance, by all means, send it to us.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, so for those in attendance, the owners forum is open.
All right, if I may, Mr. Chairman, Vincent Nemick, 4569 Barrister. I requested a month ago for policies, okay, especially the delinquent policy. And we were told, and I have it on audio from the CAM, not you, Katie, that it will be posted, or I believe the audio said she already posted it. I commended her. The board knows that. I said, thank you for doing a diligent job. Okay? I just find it funny that what I requested is not up there, but the other 3 policies are.
Okay.
I also put it in writing, since you love Vantica so much, Mr. Chairman, okay, on her action items, which she should have responded within 48 hours, as he can. And nothing has been updated, no message was sent to me. So, I mean, it would solve everything if you have the policy right now and just hand it to me, and then I would wait until it gets posted online.
Which policy were you looking for?
We're looking for the delinquent policy, Mr. Keating. You know, you had 4 policies that you
Yep.
asked for last time, and I specifically asked for that one, and you said no
Delinquent
problem.
policy. So, under policies, finding leaks, official records, board membership, meeting conduct, nope. Okay,
There's only 4 policies there.
yeah, I'll get you a copy, cause that was approved.
I know, you guys voted on it.
Yeah.
But see,
exactly.
since we're sticking with policies, Mr. Chairman,
Uh-huh.
all right, is there any way the public or the homeowners, who's shareholders of this community, can get a hold of these policies so we can read them instead of just the subject line? Do you think that'd be right for the homeowners to know what the policies are changing on? Because I've done that in the past with the previous boards.
Okay, so you want draft policies sent out to the community for review prior?
Or at least have them at the meeting so somebody could go up there and read it while you guys are discussing your business.
Well, I mean,
Aren't they on the website? Is she
draft
posting
policies
that?
don't need to be on the.
No, they're not on the website.
Only approved policies should be on the website.
Right.
Until after the policy.
But see, once again, you know, that, like I said earlier in the meeting, you wanna have all the public comments at the end.
Right,
That, you know, like if we point a certain thing out and wanna bring it to your attention, it's minute.
Hey,
Right.
no, I think it's a reasonable request. We should, if we're gonna have a policy in this new, let's have some printouts here for the people who show up for the meetings.
Or at least one, but still, we can't say anything about it. If we have the policy in hand, we could at least email you so we don't take up time at the meeting.
well.
That's
yeah.
what I'm trying to say. I mean, you hand out the agenda, So can't you just simply attach the, draft, like you said, you know, just
No.
like this says draft on it?
No, it brings up a good point. It's
So this way we know.
Yep, it's an opportunity.
Because I could tell you right now, there's a lot of people that owns golf carts in this neighborhood. I know nobody on the board owns one, but there's gonna be a lot of people gonna be, what do you mean we got a new policy? And, you know, they're gonna say, well, they voted on it, and you have to now have all these rules and I'm not done yet. Rules and regulations on it,
Okay,
okay? As far as Envera, I'm just trying to help you guys out. It's, we missed the window to get rid of their contract. They just like, you have to give them 30 days in advance, and the window was in March. So we have to have Envera for another year. I was trying to tell you that at the last meeting, but
no, we looked at the contract, and we're under contract until,
26.
the back gate is 26. The front gate is different.
I think the front gate is what we just re-signed.
You
Yeah.
signed the one for the front, too?
We did it
We-
last year.
it was done last year.
Yeah.
When we had the new,
All
high-speed.
right, so we're stuck with them
high-speed
till
barrier.
2026.
Yeah.
That's the problem we're having.
Right.
All right, so if I may make a suggestion in the future, since we did have a break-in,
Yep.
or attempt to break in, like Mr. Sweeney said, when the gates are broken, you know, it's very easy to go there with a key and shut those green lights off.
Yep,
If we could just shut those green lights off, because every time late at night, it doesn't take a genius to realize it's open on that point.
okay, I'll let you finish, but I do have a response to that, actually.
All right, I mean, there's other things, I didn't bring a pen with me, I don't wanna waste the time of the board, but it's pretty much, you know, landscapers, it was just a matter of time before we got rid of them. Pedestrian gates, the motion for the golf cart, Mr. Gallagher will talk about that one. The tennis ball courts, you know, it comes out of reserves, the tree trimming. Elliot, I was very impressed with that, because that just came out last month.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're already at 5 minutes and 20 seconds. It's supposed to be
Oops.
3 minutes.
Okay,
Oh, no problem, Mr. Sweeney, I'll put it in an email. And see if I get a response from that.
if you, if you got.
Because
any-
I know when I was up there and you weren't, and Mr. Gaty talked, I let him go. If he had important things to talk about. If it's okay, I'll put it in an email.
Yeah, well, if you've got anything else, talk to me after the meeting.
Well, it's simple, it's cars parking on the sidewalk, you're violating the ADA, it's federal.
Blocking the sidewalks.
You can't, as somebody in a wheelchair or scooter has to go by, they can't get by the sidewalk because you're parking on the sidewalk. That's what we should do. And I want to know about the towing. Are we still towing? Because there's cars parking overnight.
We have towing in place, we haven't.
Okay, good.
instituted-
He answered my question. I'm sorry to go past the time, Mr. Sweeney.
Okay, Joe?
Joe Gallagher, 4561 Barrister Drive. Golf cart policy. Who's enforcing the golf cart policy?
That's a great question. It'll be board members and the association, most likely.
So you guys, 5 of you are gonna enforce the golf cart policy, right? Evenly? Everybody? What happens to those who violate the policy?
They'll be cited. There is an opportunity for finding if necessary.
How are we identifying those who violate the policy?
Are we,
How are you identifying
Oh,
who
how?
violates the policy, correct?
it brings up some good questions.
Mhm.
We'll have to definitely look at it.
Golf
Ho-
cart,
Hopefully, what we can do is stem this stuff from happening as
Sure.
much as possible.
sure. So you identify the driver,
Mm-hmm,
but do you identify who the golf cart is owned by?
right,
So there's 2 things there.
yep.
So are you finding the owner? Are you finding the driver
Well, it's all gonna come back to the owner.
of the golf cart that you can't identify? But we are saying that golf carts must be registered with the HOA. Current, according to the policy. And how much does it cost to register a golf cart?
No cost.
No, free. Golf carts must display an HOA issued permit or sticker.
That was
How much-
something that was carried over from a previous community.
How much does that cost for the sticker?
There's not gonna be any cost.
Free sticker.
There's no cost associated with having a sticker that says that you're registered.
Free sticker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We must provide proof of insurance. So golf cart owners have to have proof of insurance?
That's what was cited.
We have to insure our golf cart? We purchased our golf cart previously and we chose not to insure it. We now have to insure it?
Okay, no, it brings up a good question.
Yeah, and if we could have asked this ahead of time before our policy was approved,
Well, the thing is, I mean, part of the insurance is liability, what if?
but that's
what
our,
if they
that's our
drive into
choice.
somebody with-
But that's our
with that?
choice.
I mean-
It's our golf cart. We can choose if we want to insure it or not.
Yeah, but what is the, okay, if it's out on the street, aren't there motor vehicle policies about vehicles must have?
Private
insurance?
property,
We own the streets, Lenny, not
it's
Claremont.
private property. I mean, a cop is gonna get in there and just go, well, no fault, sorry. So I mean, like, I'm looking at this policy and I mean, that you just approved, that if we could have talked about this at the beginning of the meeting, which we
Okay.
couldn't, you know, so where do we go from here with this, you know? Golf carts must follow the posted speed limits and traffic signs. What if they don't? What if they don't? What if 16 years or older? Okay, what if they're, how are you gonna identify if they're 16 or not? You're gonna go up to them and ask them, hey, how old you are? And if they say kick rocks, what are you gonna do? Call the cops? Cops gonna come in here and say, hey, can't be driving it. They're not gonna cite them. They're not gonna do anything. They're not gonna give them a ticket. It's not gonna happen. Like, I don't understand this policy is that it's not enforceable. How do you have a policy that's not enforceable?
Just like the speed limit in our community,
It's not
it's
enforceable.
not enforceable.
But it's not a policy.
But we put it there because.
But it's not a
hopefully
policy.
Majority of the people will hopefully try to do the right thing.
Great, so put in a newsletter, hey, here's our recommendations on golf carts. It's not a policy that you guys just approved, though. You just approved a policy.
Mm-hmm.
See, I would like to see the board members actually stop a minor, because now you opened up yourself for a lawsuit that you stopped a minor.
Yeah, this is more
Think
detrimental
about it.
as
This
far
is what
as.
we're just trying to stop you from making mistakes.
Sure.
If this was brought out before, we could talk about it.
We'll look at it, we'll talk.
But you approved it
You
just now.
approved it already. It makes no sense now.
And if it needs to be changed, it can be
And if it
changed.
needs to be changed, we can change it.
Wow, okay.
But it all came about because there was, I think, the kid driving the golf cart at high
So-
speed was 8 years old,
Did,
9 years old.
did you approach, did anybody approach that kid? Did anybody talk to the homeowner? Did anybody try to find out, like, I mean, you know,
I think we
did
found out
anybody?
after the fact it was reported by someone else.
Okay, so send out in your newsletter, hey, here's the rule, you know, try to obey the speed limit and all that. Policy? The- Free sticker? I'll take a free sticker. I mean,
Okay.
that's fine.
You bring up a good point.
Points.
Anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that, when he was saying about people crossing over the sidewalk, that was a decision that was made years ago. When, before you were on the board, before you probably even lived here. Tell you something about that.
It's an ADA law,
I know,
federal
and
law.
let
You
me-
can't block the
I
sidewalk.
respected your time, and I interrupt you. Can you
Okay.
respect mine? Previous boards, when we were looking at enforcing the speed limits, we were looking at bringing and going to the police department and telling them that we want them to come in, and the answer at the time was, that's great, you can do that, but you can't pick and choose what laws you enforce. We either enforce them all or none.
Correct.
And that we will enforce people parking on the sidewalks. And the board at the time said, we don't want to do that, and that's why the police weren't brought in. And so, that was a conscious decision and awareness. And if you're going to want to enforce that, then that takes away all of the reasons why you shouldn't have the police department in here enforcing the rules. We would just have to change the speed limit signs from 23 to 25, because you've gotta have the right speed limit in order for them to enforce it. I'm done.
We'll have more discussion about that. Joe, you have
Just
to-
keep in mind,
I
you
just-
bring the
no.
police in,
Yeah,
you're doing something that the HOA Board of Directors haven't done in over 20 years.
well,
Because
that's,
they're gonna be going after, number one, sidewalks, they're gonna be going after registrations, they're gonna be going after parking on the streets the wrong way. Listen, you just said exactly what I read,
That's why they
Okay.
want this.
Okay.
so I would think carefully before you do that.
is the board considering a traffic enforcement agreement between the HOA and local police authority?
If we go that route,
Mhm.
we will certainly investigate what we can and can't do,
Mhm.
and if we can stipulate. So I've talked to the traffic enforcement officer, and we can hire off-duty Claremont police officers to come in, and we can specifically tell them, we want you to watch for, stop sign runners and speeding. Problem is that they can issue tickets, but what's gonna happen when it gets to the judge? Because that's apparently, the word on the street is, the judges don't wanna necessarily enforce, the stuff in, private communities.
Correct, which is why most communities that want police officers in their community patrolling it enter into these traffic enforcement agreements,
Right.
which let them in, that they have carte blanche. They'll pull you over for speeding, they'll pull you over for running stop signs, driving golf carts under the age, all of that sort of stuff, so.
I
if-
don't have a problem with that person, let's say you're.
Well, my question is if you do, if you were to enter into a traffic enforcement agreement with local police departments, would that be a board decision, or would you open that up to the community? Because that's giving away privacy and jurisdiction within our community. You essentially take your jurisdiction that you have within this community and you hand it over to the police. So would it be the five of you that would make that decision, or would you
No, I wouldn't.
open that
I
up to
wouldn't
the
be in
community?
favor of just the board making a decision like that.
Okay, okay.
Number one, and number two, though, I will add, we have now, 2 incidents
Mhm.
so far this year
Mhm.
in which a homeowner shot another owner's dog.
Mhm.
Okay, just pulled out a gun and blew the dog away for no reason, really.
He shot his own dog, first of all.
It
That's
doesn't matter,
police report.
pulled a firearm in a residential area and discharge it, and that's against the law. And he happens to be a corrections officer at the Lake County facility, he should have known better, okay? He could have shot a homeowner by accident, okay? And we had the attempted burglary, so we're already starting to have, plus we've had issues that, the last year of drug trafficking out the back gate with somebody who lives in the community. So we're starting to have security concerns, okay? that
Well,
need
has
to
the
be
board done?
addressed.
Has the board gone to PD and tell them about these incidents? Or am I the only one that went to the PD and told them about these incidents?
No, you're not.
Because
the
when
only one
I
that's
asked them, they didn't tell me.
Let's not get into it.
All right, I'll talk to you after the meeting,
The
Mr.
point
Sweeney.
is that.
You're not making
if
sense.
This was a path we wanted to go down, it wouldn't be our personal decisions as to whether we include
Okay.
the community or just us. We would contact our attorney and ask them for the proper protocol. And we would follow whatever the legal proper protocol is, period. Next.
And last question, did the attorney review the golf cart policy at all?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question. I'm on Kingston Ridge Drive.
Uh-huh.
My window was broken by who I don't know. Secondly, I'm agreeing with Lenny when it comes to parking on the street. In the morning, I leave for work early, and there's so many cars that's parked on the street, which is not supposed to be. And
Okay.
thirdly, the gate. It's a big problem. People, they would just let people in. You see people showing up at your house with no one calling to let you know someone is coming. So, what's gonna be done about that?
Yeah, this, that's absolutely true. I've had some repair people come to my house when the gate was working, and they would tell them who they are, and I didn't call them, put them on a list, or tell them ahead of time, and I didn't get called, they just showed up in my driveway.
Which comes back to the problems just overall within Vera.
Yes, they're not doing a very good job. But in any event, if things do get worse, whether they like it or not, sometimes you need to then say, how do we protect our community, and if it's involving the police, that might be an option, but it's a broader conversation, and we would want to follow protocol that is appropriate according to our attorney.
I agree. Okay, anybody else?
That's not something that's gonna be decided by 5 people sitting at a table.
Look, all I'm saying is maybe somebody on the board, you should have a liaison with the police department, since we're having all these problems. Cause I asked that, I went there and I had a very good meeting with the traffic person and both the chief and the assistant chief.
Okay,
And he suggested that, and I said, okay, and you're telling me nobody came to talk to you? And he said, yes, first time Wabino brought this to our attention. I'm just saying you have to have communication with police. You have it already with your fire department, so continue with your police department. Let them know what we're thinking about. They'll work with you.
good point. Okay, is that it? Okay, so we're running a little late, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion. Our next meeting is April 24th, 2025, hopefully there's no award ceremonies that night. And with that, I'll make a motion for adjournment of the meeting.
I'll second.
Hold on to that.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you.